Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a great day. And above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to another segment of Album Spotlight. Now, the band I'm going to be talking about today, I've not mentioned on the channel very much. I did another album spotlight on another album from the group a couple of years ago. But the album I'm going to be talking about today is considered to be this band's breakthrough release. It is their best-selling album to date, and it is considered a very influential album in the genres of heavy metal, hard rock, and blues rock. The band are Deep Purple, and the album up for discussion in Album Spotlight today is Machine Head. Machine Head is Deep Purple's sixth studio release. It is a third studio release featuring the Mach 2 lineup of the band, featuring Ian Gillan on lead vocals and percussion, and Roger Glover on bass guitar and backing vocals. Machine Head is the band's follow-up release to their 1971 album Fireball. And prior to Fireball, Deep Purple released In Rock in 1970. And In Rock is the debut of the Mach 2 lineup of the band. Now, in the Mach 2 lineup of the band, also considered to be the classic lineup of the band, you have Ian Gillan on lead vocals and percussion, Roger Glover on bass guitar and backing vocals, Richie Blackmore on lead guitar, John Lord on Hammond B3 organ and piano, and Ian Pace on drums and percussion. Now, just a bit of background. With the release of In Rock in 1970, it was considered to be a turning point for the band, a change in musical direction, a more heavier sounding album, more blues rock oriented, heavier guitar, with songs like Child in Time, and Ian Gillan's vocal delivery on that album, along on songs such as Child in Time, was considered to be unique, very powerful in terms of his vocal dexterity, with his being able to shriek and hit high notes, etc. And it was considered to be a good building point for the Mark II lineup of the band. With the release of Fireball in '71, the band took a bit of a detour in terms of musical direction, and the album didn't sell as well as the band or the record company or management thought it should have. And it is more of an R&B flavored album, heavy, but again, more R&B flavored. And it is not one of Richie Blackmore's favorite releases. With the release of Machine Head, Deep Purple pretty much went back to their roots and came out with an album of just balls to the wall, guttural, blues oriented heavy rock. It is listed as heavy metal. I don't know if I would list it as heavy metal myself, but it is heavy in spots, very guttural, very going for the throat approach. Now, with regards to the background on Machine Head, it was released on March 30th, 1972 for the band's own label, Purple Records, in the UK and in Europe, and through Warner Brothers Records in North America and Japan. Prior to forming their own label, Deep Purple did record for Harvest Records. Machine Head was recorded from December 6th to the 21st of 1971 in Montreux, Switzerland, at a place called the Grand Hotel, which was a hotel that when they were in Switzerland at the time was not in use. It was actually shut down for the winter. And after looking for various venues to record at, they basically settled on the Grand Hotel. They basically commandeered the hotel, took over one of the rooms that was considered to be, I guess, a great room, and turned it into a suitable recording space. And they used the Rolling Stones mobile unit truck to record the album. Now, though they also did try to record music for the album at a local theater, but were receiving noise complaints from people uh, about the recording. So they abandoned that idea and settled on the Grand Hotel. Now, upon release, Machine Head reached number 7 in the US charts, number 1 in the Canadian charts, and number 1 in the UK charts. So, as I said, it is considered to be their best-selling album and breakthrough release. There were 4 singles released from the album, those singles being Never Before, Lazy, Highway Star, and of course, Smoke on the Water. The album has an overall playing time of 37 minutes and 46 seconds. Again, perfect for LP, probably too short for CD. The album was produced by the band themselves and engineered by the great Martin Birch, who would go on to work with Rainbow as producer, and other bands such as Iron Maiden and Blue Oyster Cult. Now, with regards to Machine Head, 7 tracks in total, wall to wall, killer and no filler. Starts off with the third single, Highway Star, at 6 minutes and 5 seconds. And in my notes, I have your slow build of bass and rhythm guitar chords that come in along with the drums. Ian Gillan's vocals come in slowly and they build to a piercing shriek, right? And for the performance of the track, he does deliver an intense guttural vocal on this piece. Wonderful organ stabs, I guess you call them a mini breakdown section, along with wonderful cymbal crashes. Fast chugging rhythm guitar from Ritchie Blackmore, almost very regimented, unrelenting, going for the throat rhythm guitar approach. Nice slow build of organ that goes into a wonderful solo, and there's a wonderful twinning of guitar and guitar passages that come in. They also do a lot of twinning of rhythm guitar and organ passages on this album. And the twinning guitar leads into a wonderful, blistering guitar solo from Ritchie Blackmore on Highway Star. After Highway Star comes the track Maybe I'm a Leo at 4 minutes and 51 seconds. Great rhythm guitar and organ on this piece. To me, this track is a lot of swagger and attitude, uh, strong drums that come in. And what I noticed with this album, what I'm noticing is that there's wonderful separation of the instruments. Ian Pace on drums is just locked in to Roger Glover on bass. Just, as a rhythm section, they're wonderful. They're like, just, you can't beat what they were doing with regards to drumming and bass work. Uh, Great double tracked vocals from Ian Gillan on this track. Now, what I like about his vocal delivery, okay, he's known for the piercing shrieks and high end vocal delivery that he does, but he's also wonderful in terms of his vocal delivery in the mid range, of his vocal ability. Just wonderfully done, and the fact that they're able to double track the vocals gives it more richness in terms of his delivery. Nice shimmering organ that comes in on the left channel, wonderfully done. And this track has a very much a blues vibe, very loose, sort of like almost like they were like, coming up with ideas, and they would just, you know, very off the cuff kind of a feel with this piece. Track 3 is a song called Pictures of Home at 5 minutes and 3 seconds. Wonderful drum uh, I get roll on the intro. I was going to say drum riff, drum roll on the intro. Thick blues oriented guitar riff that comes in. Build of organ, wonderful build of organ. What I like about Don Lord's work is that although he does take a solo here and there on the music for the album, he creates a wonderful bedrock of, get that, in rock bedrock, get that? A wonderful bedrock of organ work. Um, on this album. And it just complements what Roger Glover's doing on bass and what Ritchie Blackmore is doing on the guitar. Pictures of a Home has a wonderful melody to it. Great. Nice extended guitar solo. And again, another use, what I call a foundation of rhythm guitar for this piece. Wonderful bass and organ soloing on this track. And this track ends with an extended instrumental solo on the outro for the track. Wonderfully done. Wonderfully done. As I go through my notes here, track 4 is the lead off single, Never Before, at 3 minutes and 56 seconds, the shortest track on the album. Strong drum intro on this piece. Great strong bass, great rhythm guitar. Um, Again, this track also has a very much an improv vibe to it. Great electric piano on this. There's a wonderful breakdown section and a wonderful electric piano solo on this piece. Track 5 is the big hit from the album, Smoke on the Water, 5 minutes and 40 seconds. What's to say about this track? Um, I'll go into it in a sec. In my notes, I have your iconic guitar passage on the intro, and just a little footnote. When Ritchie Blackmore came up with the guitar passage on the intro, he played it to Ian Gillan. They were getting along at that time. Hmm. And he said, "What do you think of this?" And Ian Gillan said, "That's the song. That's it. It's pretty much there. Let's work on this. It's wonderful." So again, you have iconic guitar intro, uh, nice use of open hi-hat from Ian Pace. Has very much of a, I guess you'd say, almost like a disco feel. Very funky. Um, Strong, almost overdriven bass as I play on this. A lot of swagger and attitude. Great extended guitar solo that comes in, and wonderful guttural vocals again from Ian Gillan. He, again, although he can shriek with the best of them, from the low to the mid range, he is superb on this album. Wonderful, just wonderfully delivered, just amazing. The next track is the next single, Lazy, at 7 minutes and 19 seconds. Obviously, for the single release, he released an edited version of this. In my notes, I have a slow build of the organ on the intro, and it leads into just a very brief organ passage that pans on, from the left and right. It launches into an ass-shaking boogie section of the track. Just wonderfully done. Great wailing guitar. Uh, and there's a great trading of guitar and organ on the soloing, and wonderful strong bass. Really, a wonderful extended instrumental section. The vocals for this track don't come in until the 4 minute and 21 second section of the track. Very has a very much a loose vibe, this piece. Almost like the lyrics were made up right then and there on the spot. Wonderful harmonica solo from Ian Gillan, and great guitar tone on the solo. Now at 7 minutes and 1 second, there's a change in time signature for the final 21 seconds of the track right to the outro. Just a bit of a change up on it. Just wonderfully done. Wonderfully done. The album ends with track 7, Space Truckin' at 4 minutes and 31 seconds. This track done live, wonderful. Simply wonderful. In my notes, I have here great twinning of the bass and organ on the intro. Great strong drums again from Ian Pace. His drumming on this album is just wonderful. And again, if I didn't mention this before, great separation of instruments on this album. Just wonderfully done. Great strong bass. Um, there is a from Roger Glover. Sorry, there is a bit of an overdriven bass and organ and rhythm guitar section that comes in. Um, Again, working together between Blackmore, Glover, and Lord, just wonderfully done. They're locked into one another. Uh, has a bit of a funky feel to it on the guitar. There's like a nice funky guitar section that comes in, and there is also a beautiful percussion overdub that comes in from Ian Pace. Um, at 3 minutes and 22 seconds, the guitars and organ, sorry, come crashing back in for the rest of the track. And Ian Gillan's vocals on this track, on the outro, go to another level of intensity. Just amazingly done. He just keeps building and building and building, and intensity and going up in his vocal range. Just wonderfully done. Wonderfully done. And that's the album. Machine Head, 7 tracks in total. Like from track 1 to track 7, this album is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. And it's easy to see how this album would be considered the band's best-selling album, and why it is an influential album for bands in the hard rock, blues rock, and heavy metal genres. Now, this version of the band, the Mach 2 version of the band, would stay together for the 1973 release of Who Do We Think We Are and the tour. However, tempers would flare, and there would be fights between Ian Gillan and Richie Blackmore, and Richie Blackmore insisted that he and Ian Gillan and Roger Glover be fired from the band. In would come Glenn Hughes on bass and vocals, and one David Coverdale, an unknown at the time, on lead vocals. They would release Stormbringer and Burn, and the rest is history. But Machine Head by Deep Purple, again, is considered to be a seminal album by some, a turning point of an album for others, and is considered to be, again, the band's best-selling release. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Please put down in the comments below your opinion of Machine Head. What is your favorite track? And here's another question. Would you sequence this album, sorry, it's been one of those days. Would you sequence this album any differently from what is here in the running order? I'd love to know. I think it's perfect the way it is, but what would you do to it? What would you do to it? Let me know. Please put your comments down below. And yeah, I'm working on more ideas for shows with Ken Cheshire, Bill Schuster, and Sagosh. And we're going to be bringing them to you as quickly as we possibly can. Please click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we got coming up. And we are now on X, so please follow us on X. And that's it for now. Please look after yourselves and one another. I'm Armando Venditti, signing off. Have a great day. Bye for now.